I've worked so hard for this day today, and all of you have presented so many research papers and you've crafted so many innovative ideas into the same. And now, to commence with the valedictory session, we firstly have the keynote address of one of the prominent personalities in the field of management and commerce in Malaysia. That is Dr. Weng Mark Lim, professor and head, Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak, Malaysia. Well, to talk about this noble speaker, Professor Weng Mark Lim is a PhD and is a full professor and head at the School of Business at Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak campus, and founding curator of the Global Shape Community Kuching Hub. Professor Lim is certified as the record holder for youngest professor in the Malaysia Book Records in 2020 and named as the honoree of the Outstanding Young Malaysians in 2019 by JCI. In an area of special interest, namely women entrepreneurship and technology advancement for poverty elevation, regeneration and workforce re-entry among women in marginalized areas and communities, Professor Lim is a strong male advocate of women empowerment. He has worked together with the Ministry of Welfare, Community Wellbeing, Women and Childhood Development to scrutinize the current state of affairs of existing aspirants and potential women entrepreneurs in Sarawak, Malaysia. Well, I truly believe with such a noble work and with such good thoughts, it would be a pleasure for all of us to hear an eminent personality like Dr. Weng Marcus Lim. So, sir, we welcome you to the virtual session of the International Conference, handing over the virtual stage to you now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, MC. Let me just try to get my slides, everything on screen. Just give me a moment. Yep. Okay, so I believe that you should be able to see my slides now. All right, so hello everyone. I hope you are keeping safe and well wherever you may be. Thank you for tuning in. This is Professor Mark Lim from Swinburne University of Technology, which is an Australian university in Melbourne with an international branch campus in Sarawak, Malaysia, which is where I'm based. Now, before I start, I would like to give a big shout out to GNA University for inviting me to deliver this keynote. So today, I would like to share with you some practical tips for managing business in turbulent times. To make it easy for you to understand, I'll be taking a two-step approach whereby I will first share with you a business challenge, followed by a strategy that you may want to consider to address that challenge. It is important to note that not all businesses encounter all of these challenges, as some businesses, they may be more prepared than others for some challenges, and likewise, some businesses may be less prepared than others for other challenges. If any of these challenges look new to you, then it is best you take note of those challenges, just in case, as prevention is always better than cure. So sit back, relax, and keep a lookout for the challenges that you are facing, or perhaps you may want to keep an eye for a strategy that you could, use to enhance some of your responses to some of these challenges. Here we go. Business challenge number one, the lack of cash flow. In essence, cash flow is to a business what blood is to the human body. There is no blood circulation for a few minutes, we would die. Similarly, without cash flow in the working capital, many businesses might have to close because they cannot pay their day-to-day expenses, such as salaries to employees, which remains constant as we have seen during the lockdown. Nevertheless, many businesses are able to sell even when lockdowns are imposed, especially in the business-to-business marketplace, where a credit of 30 to 60 days are often given by sellers to buyers. However, the problem is that many of these businesses that offer credit have not been able to collect payment on time, as other businesses are also experiencing the lack of cash flow. So to some extent, this is like the chicken and egg issue. Do you sell first and collect payment later? Or do you sell only when you can collect payment immediately? If you sell first and collect payment later, then you risk the potential of bad debts. But if you only sell when you can collect payment immediately, then you reach the potential of not even making a sale at all. I reckon that the option of selling first and collecting the payment later could work if you know how to engage in good debt collection strategies. So to address the issue of cash flow, particularly in the instance you are able to sell but not able to collect the monies owed, then I reckon you will need to improve your debt collection, since this is your money anyway, and you need to make sure that you receive what is due to you on time, especially during difficult periods. Here, there are two ways to go about debt collection, namely empathic intelligence and reverse psychology. The easiest over here, I reckon, is reverse psychology, where you actually use the assertion of a belief or a behavior that is opposite to the one that you desire, with the expectation that this approach will encourage your clients to do what is actually desired, which is to pay you the money's due. And I'll share with you a personal experience on how I managed to collect a 6-figure debt for my own business that is now running on its own, which is involved in wholesale sourcing and outsourcing. So I had a client, right, who is involved in private labels, who bought a bunch of unbranded apparel from my company and did not want to pay despite multiple attempts by my staff to chase for payments. So one day, I decided to show up at his office, and I told the receptionist that I wanted to meet him, and to tell him that the reason that I wanted to meet him was that I heard rumors that he was going out of business. And within 2 minutes, I saw him walking towards me and inviting me to go for a drink with him. So over drinks, I used this reverse psychology tactic where I expressed my confidence in him as my friend, and that I am confident he would be paying me the money's due for the products which his company has already taken. But I also told him that I was quite concerned about the rumors of him going bankrupt. And guess what? We're in a public space nearby his office drinking coffee. And of course, there are some people around, eavesdropping. So naturally, his ego came into play. And he immediately, with a slightly louder voice, told me not to believe the rumors and called his finance department immediately to issue the check for the money that he actually owed right away. And true enough, the finance lady from his office came to the place where we were drinking to hand over the check to me in about 15 minutes. So you see, reverse psychology could work in a very interesting way for debt collection, right? Which I reckon will be useful to help with the cash flow in this difficult period of time. That is, of course, the easiest option, but perhaps a more mischievous one. The alternative, right, to that is to pursue an empathic intelligence strategy where you will need to be mentally prepared when you go out to clients to request for payments. As you know, late paying clients will always have all kinds of excuses. Hence, you need to be committed to getting paid. You can use, right, a friendly but professional and firm approach. And it's important that when you go and collect your debts, you face your debt collection with this mindset. Otherwise, your clients are just going to walk all over you. If you're not a good negotiator, then what you need to do is to delegate the debt collection to someone else in your company who can do a better job. Here, following up is very important because a dose of guilt, right, combined with your own persistence usually works. Some clients, they may just pay you simply because they just want you off their back. And another reason could be, following up with them always will make them feel very uncomfortable and embarrassed by their own behavior in owing you money. So I guess in that sense, following up allows you to increase your chances of collecting your debts. Now, in the event where you have been, let me just move back. Yeah. So now, in the event where you have been, trying to collect your debt for a very, very long time, right, but you're not successful to do so, then what perhaps you may want to do is to actually offer a settlement for less. And the reason for that is because if you don't offer the settle for less, you end up risking, writing off that debt as a whole, right? At the end of the day, in any instance, you will need to be proactively collecting your debts, right, in order for you to improve your cash flow, since you may already be doing all right with sales, and the problem that you may be facing is only a very tight cash flow, which nevertheless could be as fatal as not having any sales at all. Right? So you really need to be good in debt collection, and empathic intelligence and reverse psychology are basically two ways you can go about proactively collecting the monies that is rightfully yours. Right? And this is something that is very, very prominent when it comes to running your business during turbulent times. Right? Sometimes you can actually get your sales, but the problem is you cannot get your money back. Right? So then you have a cash flow problem. Right? So these two strategies here hopefully can actually help you to deal with that. Moving on, business challenge number 2 is the lack of cash. Now, the lack of cash is different as compared to the lack of cash flow, right? And this is because the lack of cash flow is a problem where you have cash, but the cash is not with you, right? Like for example, it could be the cash that is with the client who has already taken your product but has not paid you yet, right? So that's what we actually talked previously, right? So that's the lack of cash flow. Whereas the problem of the lack of cash or the lack of money is a problematic situation which could occur when you have exhausted your working capital in paying operating costs such as employee salaries during the lockdown or shutdown. Or it could be a situation where you might not have any more substantial debts to collect. Or it could also be another situation where you have not enough cash to produce the quantity of products that you would like to produce. Right? Like for example, right, you want to wrap up your business of producing face masks and hand sanitizers because these products are in demand due to the increasing health concerns as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. But you cannot do that because you don't have enough cash to permit your business and ramp up production. So that's the lack of cash. So in order to address the challenge pertaining to lack of cash, I reckon that businesses must consider leveraging on other people's money. Yes, you heard that right. So I'll repeat. If businesses do not have enough cash, then they must consider leveraging on other people's money to help them make money or perhaps even more money. Of course, in an ethical way, meaning that the source of money must be legal and that businesses must be committed to returning that money if that money needs to be returned. So there are a number of ways to raise funds during turbulent times, or in other words, how you can actually get access to other people's money during these difficult times. The first and easiest way is to sign up for government aids and government grants, which many governments around the world are giving out very generously as a way to encourage firms to avoid layoffs and to stimulate the economy, which has typically suffered during turbulent times, as seen during the lockdown measures during the coronavirus pandemic. If you're running a business, I would encourage you to take advantage of this and do not let any preconceived thoughts to hold you back from going for government aids and grants. It is not true that government aid and grants are actually difficult to get, as what you oftentimes really need to do is just to read the conditions very carefully and to be very clear in explaining how you satisfy those conditions, which are meant to help businesses that are either genuinely suffering or that could credibly demonstrate a thorough action plan on how the money will be used and how this will help to keep jobs and to create wealth in the economy in these difficult times. Nevertheless, government aids and grants, they may take a while. So if you're in a hurry to raise money to survive, then your options are actually quite limited. So in that sense, if time is essence, then I reckon your reputation and credibility is of utmost importance now, as you can only raise money, right, in a very short time from the people who have done business with you and who have a good relationship with you. Meaning that if you want to raise money in the shortest amount of time possible, then the cash will likely come from people who trust you, such as your family and friends, or your strategic business partners, or your suppliers and customers. If you have exhausted all these options from people who trust you, then your next options are people who do not know you, but are actively going around to invest their money. For example, banks, financial institutions, crowdfunding platforms, and venture capitalists. But in all these instances, I reckon that we can all agree that cash is king when it comes to business survival and success. But when it comes to spending, cash must be spent prudently and wisely, like how we spend when we do not have enough money. That is to say, once businesses have managed to secure an injection of cash funding into their business, they must then use that cash in a way that prolongs business operations and that generates good return on investment. And this is because only government aids and grants are the only source of funding that businesses generally do not need to repay, whereas all other sources of funding needs to be repaid, right? Be it from people whom you know and trust you, or from people who do not know you but are willing to invest in your business activities, right? So those are the things that you can do to actually raise cash, especially during turbulent times. Finally, business challenge number 3, sales strategies are not working. And I reckon that the most difficult part of running a business is to generate sales. And during turbulent times, I reckon that many businesses are facing many sales issues. And here are some of those issues which I found through my research to be quite prominent during the COVID-19 pandemic. The important thing for businesses to do when faced with sales challenges is to search and embrace alternative sales strategies. So the key word here is alternative, right? Meaning that when you face a stumbling block, you must immediately shift your mind to ask these questions. What is the alternative? How could I do this differently? And then to actually give this alternative a go when you have a thought about it. The good thing about sales strategies is that you can always pivot when your market validation fails. And of course, you can always scale when your market responds to you positively, thereby giving you market validation that a sales strategy that you are employing is working. So let us now take a closer look at some of the possible sales strategies that might not be working as expected, and what you can do as an alternative to generate sales. So if you're unable to meet customers due to the lockdown, then I reckon that you will need to create new marketing channels. For example, if you have always been doing in-person face-to-face sales calls, then you might need to use video conferencing to have that face-to-face sales calls online. Another example could be if you only have physical point of sales to meet your customers, right, like in physical stores, then you might want to create new points of sales online, such as using paid advertisements on social media, invitations to webinars, and follow-up email marketing, which I reckon at some point in time, people will actually respond to it, right? People these days, all the while, right? People, it's natural in them. They like free things. And if you're able to provide them with something that is free, such as a free webinar and on a continuing basis, then chances are they will come looking for you. And when they do, then that's an opportunity for you to convince them to purchase your products or to engage in your services. Next, if you're facing plummeting customer demand from your current pool of customers, then perhaps it is time for you to target new industries because some industries are taking a plunge, whereas other industries might be better off. For example, healthcare providers like your hospitals, your clinics around the world are actually not doing very well. But healthcare equipment manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies are thriving in this coronavirus pandemic. So let's say, if you are selling IT services and your current clients are mainly healthcare providers, then you might want to consider targeting healthcare equipment manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies now, given that they are doing well. Alternatively, you might also want to expand your market by selling your products and services online, as online, to me, is equivalent to an international market, meaning that the world is your oyster for getting customers. You could be based in China or India, but your customers can come from Australia, Malaysia, or Singapore. Next, if you're having problems to find new customers, and let's say you are in the business-to-business industry, meaning that you sell to business customers, then I will encourage you to consider LinkedIn prospecting, because LinkedIn is like Facebook, but for professionals, meaning that you can actually look up for business owners and procurement managers that you could potentially target to sell your products and services. If you have a small sales team, as in the case for many engineering and IT companies, then perhaps what needs to happen is to get everyone in the company to sell and to take a gamified approach to selling. For example, the more you sell, the more bonus or commission you get. If you have limited channels for selling, then perhaps you might want to collaborate with others to sell your products. And an interesting thing about collaboration is that collaboration allows you and whoever you're collaborating with to increase the size of the product range targeting to the same customers at no cost at all. Meaning that customers will get a variety of products to choose from when businesses collaborate with one another. And a very prominent example for this is the shipping industry, where the freight forwarders collaborate with the custom forwarding agents and the trucking operators to provide a total logistic experience to their customers. Next, if you're operating in the service industry and you're facing a big challenge to sell your services because your customers fear physical touch and physical distancing, right? Especially in this COVID pandemic, then I have two alternatives for you to consider. The first alternative is that you may want to deliver some of your services online. For example, I've seen, comedians now using Zoom to replace in-person comedy shows. And that, to me, is an innovative way of converting in-person services to online services. Second, you may want to consider converting your services into products. For example, I've seen beauty salons and spas who traditionally offer in-person beauty services, and they have now sell the value of their services via products, meaning that people can now stay beautiful with the products from these beautiful salons and spas. So you see, These are two examples, right? The comedian as well as the spy example and the beauty salon example. These are two examples of how you can still generate a sale if your business was traditionally providing in-person services. Finally, the problem that most, if not all businesses face is competition. There is simply too many competitors around, where competitors, right, they are likely to be, very aggressive in reaching out in order to ensure business survival for their own business during turbulent times. To me, it is important that you understand that the adoption and use of technology has accelerated rapidly as we have witnessed through the COVID-19 pandemic, which means that customers today have more access to information now than ever before. And this means that traditional sales strategies, right, such as relationship building, needs diagnosis, these old-fashioned strategies have become pretty much irrelevant today, because by the time the customers actually agree to meet you, they would have already known what they are looking for, and they're simply looking to purchase from a supplier who could offer them the products and services that they're looking for at the cheapest price, right? Because remember, today technology advancement is there. Everyone can just search for information on the internet, right? So they already know and find all the solutions there. And when they actually come and want to buy the product, it's just about, who actually can actually sell me at the cheapest price. And I'm sure you do not want to be in a situation where your clients are constantly bargaining with you on price, because if they do, it simply means that your product or service is just a commodity. So based on my research in the area of challenger marketing for businesses engaging in business-to-business transactions, which I had the pleasure to present to GNA Business Group previously, I will encourage you to consider tweaking the way you sell to your customers by doing your research beforehand to find out what your customers might be thinking and to think of what your customers might not know, right? And to use that knowledge to unteach your customers about a preconceived understanding in order for you to teach them something new that they might have not thought about, right? In order for you to gain their buy-in and purchase the value that you are selling and that your competitors are unable to provide. And what I mean by value here is not just your product, but also the commercial insights that you are delivering along with your product to help your customers earn more at the end of the day. And of course, this is the business-to-business market. And what this means is that in order for you to unteach your customers about something they already believe in, it is crucial that you set up research teams in your business and to research about the industry as a whole and the customers of your customers, right? Because if you can get your customers to gain more customers, earn more money, then it is very likely you will shine above your competitors. Many people, when they sell, they only sell to the customer, but the ones that really stand out sells to the customer of the customer in the business market. And if you would like to know more about the challenger approach to marketing, then I will encourage you to read my papers on challenger marketing that have been published in A-rank journals such as Industrial Marketing Management and Journal of Business and Industrial Marketing. So that's it, right? So that's it. To recap, we have covered 3 different challenges that businesses face typically during turbulent times such as the coronavirus pandemic, as well as 3 different strategies that businesses could take to navigate and succeed in an increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous business environment. In terms of accounting and finance, the challenges that were reviewed revolve around the lack of cash flow, where businesses have cash, but it's just not with them, as well as the lack of cash, which is a situation where businesses do not have any debts to collect and where businesses do not have enough cash to produce. And to overcome these challenges in accounting and finance, businesses must improve on their debt collection, and if they are to increase their working capital, then they can consider leveraging on other people's money to help them make more money, of course, in an ethical way. In terms of marketing, I shared with you through my keynote that the inability to meet customers, plummeting customer demands, uncertainty in searching for customers, small sales teams, limited channels of selling, inability to render services to the fear of physical touch and physical distancing, and of course, too many competitors were some of the common challenges in sales, which could be remedied by creating new marketing channels, targeting customers from new industries, engaging in LinkedIn prospecting, getting the entire company to sell through a gamified sales approach, collaborating with others, going online or converting services into products, and of course, the one I really like, which is to take a challenger approach to marketing. In all instances, businesses must always keep an open and curious mind and to proactively work on some, if not all, of the ideas that I've shared in order to ensure business survival And if this is done with genuine enthusiasm and agility, then I'm confident that businesses will be able to realize the potential of being a very successful company despite operating in the midst of turbulent times such as the coronavirus pandemic. And these, I believe, are the things that actually resonates with what is happening in the industry. So if we were to do research, right, if we are academics, for those academic audiences over here, right, if we were to do research in the area of business, then we must make sure that our findings through our research will actually help businesses in the industry to actually survive and succeed during turbulent times. And that's very, very important. And as you can see to my presentation, I hope that I've been able to share these issues with you and these strategies in a very layman way, in a very simple to understand way, because that is what businesses need, right? They don't need our flowery languages that we try to write in our journals, but they need something in a way that they can understand. All right, so these are the challenges. Yes, I have this challenge, I have that challenge, and I have that challenge. And these are the ways to solve those challenges. And they can understand, okay, improve debt collection, leverage on people's money, how to get more money from other people, as well as what other type of sales strategy that they can pursue, right? So hopefully this gives you some inspiration in terms of how you can actually translate scholarly research, which is what I have done here through my own research, right? How do you translate scholarly research into applied recommendations at the end of the day, right? So that is it from me. I hope you have found this presentation useful to either help you in your own business or in your industry consulting projects to support businesses in your own communities. And thank you again for having me. And I wish you a good rest of the day and enjoy the conference at the last session over here, right? So over back to you, MC.
We truly appreciate having an extensive insight into the current issues through a powerhouse of knowledge like you. I truly express my gratitude to you for sparing your valuable time and joining us all as a keynote speaker. GNA Business School and GNA University looks forward for an academic collaboration with your good self, sir. I am pretty sure that an august assemblage of academicians, research scholars, and students are pleased and amazed that to hear your views, and they would surely take them as an enduring lesson with them at the end of the day. Thank you once again, Dr. Marcus Lim. Thanks a lot. And now, moving on, it gives me an immense sense of pleasure and pride in welcoming our second keynote speaker for the day, as I already welcomed Sir Dr. Justin Paul, Professor, University of Puerto Rico, San Juan. So, before we move forward and before we hear it up from Justin Sir, I would like to introduce you all to our keynote speaker for the day. Dr. Justin Paul, currently a faculty member at the University of Washington Foster School of Business, United States of America, started his career as an officer with the Corporation Bank and later moved to academics. He was an associate professor at Nagoya University of Commerce and Business, Japan, prior to his present position. He also served as the department chairperson at the Indian Institute of Management quite early in his career. He holds 3 honorary titles as Distinguished Professor with 3 reputed universities, including IIM Kozhikode and SIBM Pune. Dr. Paul has authored and co-authored many best-selling textbooks. These include Business Environment, International Business, Management of Banking and Financial Services, Export-Import Management, International Marketing and Services, Marketing. He has also published 25 research papers in referred journals, including the Journal of Consumer Marketing, Competitiveness Review, and Asian Case Research Journal. His case studies and articles have been published by Harvard Business School, Ivy Business School, University of Western Ontario, Canada, and by leading newspapers. Dr. Paul introduced the Mastage model and measures for brand management, CPP model for internationalization, Scope framework for small firms, and 7P framework for international marketing. Well, with such an abundance of achievements and with a huge storehouse of intellectual knowledge, I am pretty sure that our gathering is surely going to have a treat of knowledge from you, sir. So I hand over the virtual stage to you. Over to you, Sir Dr. Justin. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this invitation. Let me try to share my PowerPoint because this is first time I'm using this particular platform. Am I audible to you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you very much for this invitation. Hello?
Yep, sounds good. We can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. So I have to figure out where is the screen sharing on this platform. This platform is new to me.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Where is the sharing video select to?
Yes, sir.
How can I share my PPT? Hello. Yeah, sounds good. Can hear you. Okay, wonderful. Can someone advise me how to share my PPT? This platform is new to me. Otherwise, I can speak without PPT. In case if you tell me how to share my PPT, I can share PPT. Otherwise, I can do it without PPT. How can I share PPT?
Sir, at the bottom of your screen, you can see one pink icon. So you need to click on that.
Advise me how to share my PPT.
Yeah, there's one pink icon at the bottom of your screen.
I can speak without PPT. In case if you tell me how to share my PPT, I can share PPT. Otherwise, I can do it without PPT.
Sir, at the right bottom, there are 4 icons.
Yes.
There is a purple color.
Yeah, I clicked on that.
Collaborate panel is there at the right bottom. Sir, at the right bottom.
Yes, I know. I understand. So there are options to share, run, whiteboard. Yeah, I click on that.
Collaborate panel is there at the right bottom.
Should be share screen, right?
Sir, there are option for share files. You can upload your PPT here in share files.
No,
Or you can share screen as well.
Yeah, I have seen share screen. Share screen will work, right?
Yes, sir. Both work.
Okay.
In either of the way you can do.
Okay. So I clicked on share screen. Let me see what happens. How do I access now? or share files. Let me see which one is better. Add files.
In share files, you will be able to upload your PPT.
Okay, it's adding files. Okay.
So are you still facing any issue?
Yeah, I'm uploading my file now. So it's saying uploading.
Right, sir.
No, it's taking time converting it. Okay, I can start with this in case if it doesn't work also. So, thank you, GNA University Dean and other professors for this invitation. And I would like to congratulate all the organizers for hosting this event during this crisis time. As we all know that the corona crisis and COVID-19 has created problems and challenges for each one of us in different ways. Businesses are actually incurring losses all over the world these days. And we all expected that the crisis is over. Unfortunately, crisis is not yet over. So we all have expected that by June, July, the new academic year, everything will be perfect. However, nothing is perfect as of now, and we all still have travel restrictions. Countries are blocking people from other countries these days. So we used to talk about globalization in every seminar, in every speech, in every classroom. However, globalization is these days a challenge. Of globalization is these days a myth. Because of globalization, many companies went on to do business in foreign markets. They set up their subsidiaries, branches. They were active in collaborations. The business had actually turned out to be international business during last 10 years or last 20 years. But with Corona and COVID-19 crisis, business is these days taking shape of deglobalization. So what we know is these days is what deglobalization. Deglobalization versus globalization. This is the theme that this is the issue that we all facing in the real business these days. So I'm trying to talk a little bit about the challenges and opportunities that the COVID has brought into and some kind of management solutions for the problems. I don't know how you got my profile to introduce, but it is an outdated profile because you have read that I published 25 papers. That was 7 years ago. Maybe you got it from some of my book or something like that, which was published 5 or 6 years ago. Because my publication numbers have increased significantly during last 5 years. So yeah, coming back to the topic, challenges and opportunities for businesses. Each and every business faces challenge. At the same time, if they can overcome the challenge, they have a lot of opportunities. It is very simple, like, for example, the other side of the, if you cross the ocean, India, for example, India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka, they are not developed countries. They are not rich countries. But if you cross the ocean, if you sit in an airplane for 4 hours, you get to a country called United Arab Emirates. From India's west coast, it takes about 4 hours by flight to get to UAE. And UAE is a developed country, rich country with a lot of salary, with a lot of benefits and no taxes. And from the money point of view, UAE is a paradise. And the world is created in such a way that people tend to move to other foreign countries. For example, I have seen, like, I went to Chile in South America. Chile is a better off country in South America compared to other countries in South America. Chile is more developed, and salary in Chile is better than salary in many other countries. However, many other countries in South America, they don't get good job, and they face problem. And people from, when I was in restaurant in Chile, my waitress and my waiter, they're all from other countries. And I asked a very basic question: why do you work in Chile if you're not from Chile? And they said, better salary. And this trend is everywhere. I lived in Japan for 4 years, and in Japan, I had seen a lot of people from Philippines working in Japan in different jobs. So people tend to move to countries where they can earn higher income. Businesses tend to move to markets or countries where they can make more income. This is natural. On the other hand, this trend is getting into a reverse gear these days because of this pandemic. When international travel is difficult, is challenging, companies cannot internationalize their businesses, and individuals cannot internationalize individuals cannot move internationally easily. They will decide to stick to the country where they have a job or where they have a business. So opportunities will be limited because of this pandemic and when country doors are closed. Last night, I was looking at the European Union rules for people from other countries to enter into Europe these days. They have introduced barcode system with QR codes of COVID vaccination for non-European citizens to enter into European Union for the time being. Even America hasn't given QR code for COVID vaccination. Almost everyone got QR vaccination in America. America is only giving a CDC certified vaccination card. It does not have any QR. So even Americans cannot go to European Union these days because of COVID restriction. So that means the world is nowadays, or the world is going to be many separate islands for next 1 year. I was expecting that everything will be over by the summer, but everything is not over by the summer, and problems is going to remain for another 6 months, no doubt. And maybe we can be optimistic that by 2022, everything will be smooth and everything will be perfect. So restrictions create trouble for all businesses. And businesses are going to be increasingly local in nature and scope during next 1 year time. Businesses and managers and entrepreneurs, they will not think of doing and strengthening their business internationally in the days to come because of this COVID-19 pandemic. In case if I can move this, I can just, yeah, I think I'm able to move this. Can you see my slides now? Yeah. So my basic point is that.
Yes, Professor, the slides are visible.
Yeah, it's visible now. Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, Professor, the slides are visible.
Yeah. Everyone is thinking about survival versus success these days. And everyone has to think about survival versus success these days. We never thought about survival during last 10 years because everything was okay. People did not anticipate this kind of crisis. And because of this kind of crisis, nowadays each and every company is thinking about survival. Success is a second phase for them. Survival is the first phase for them. This is important. Global economy is expected to shrink. Millions have filed for unemployment benefits in the US. Thousands of people have been laid off. And labor-intensive industries are facing more challenges. These are all realities. Millions have lost their jobs all over the world. There has been setback on transactions taking place in the recent months. As you know, small and medium enterprises, they face survival threat these days. Many small and medium scale enterprises are these days short of cash or short of capital because of the crisis. Some of them have shut down their business operations in different countries. These challenges create problems for marketers, because when many businesses are not operating, marketing managers will have tough time to do their job. They will face a problem. They will have to say that this is going to be a tough time and we cannot do our business and everything is in trouble and all those kind of things. Yeah. So what I'm going to prescribe today is a framework that will be helpful and useful for you to implement in case if you would like to come out of these problems and challenges and come with a better solution. Impact of COVID-19, as you know, social distancing is a challenge. And so because of social distancing, many services industries are facing problem these days. However, the social distancing guidelines in turn indirectly has led to increasing importance for online transactions. Online transactions are more these days. Everyone is doing online purchase these days. And a lot of online research dealing with online businesses are also happening. Almost all businesses in travel and tourism sector are incurring huge loss. This includes travel agencies, monuments, restaurants, and hotels located in tourist locations. I tell you an example. I live in a town next to the beach location. Many restaurants have closed permanently after the lockdown. So, my building is just next to the beach. And always I have seen every day 500 tourists visiting the beach. Before COVID-19 crisis, beach used to be crowded, and there were a lot of 5-star, 4-star, 3-star hotels around the beach. Almost every day, especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday, everything used to get crowded. But after COVID-19 lockdown, during the lockdown, hotels got closed and tourists stopped coming. And these days, everything is empty. Hotels are empty. Hotels don't get business for last 1.5 years. They have terminated their employees. A lot of associated problems. I would also like to describe the case of a Hard Rock Cafe. Hard Rock Cafe is a very famous entertainment cafe in America. And next to my building, 2 blocks away from my building, there is a Hard Rock. There used to be a Hard Rock Cafe. Hard Rock Cafe was very famous, and a lot of young people used to go there to hang out. Because of COVID-19 lockdown, after lockdown, Hard Rock Cafe managers decided to open. They kept it open for 2-3 months, and they were not getting many customers because customers were not keen to go to this kind of cafes and restaurants and bars. They were not keen. So Hard Rock Cafe faced challenge. They were not getting customers and they decided to shut down their business permanently because no business can survive for 6 months without enough business. If they cannot pay salary for their employees, how can they survive? This is a fundamental question. And all these problems happened because of unexpected and unanticipated challenge, COVID-19 pandemic. This was an unexpected challenge or unanticipated. No one anticipated this problem. Some challenges and opportunities these days, like you can see that artificial intelligence are getting more importance, and hourly wage rate system will get more importance. Yeah, people are used to monthly wages, or people are used to be annual wages. But nowadays, with the pandemic, hourly wage rate system will get more importance. World will be divided into two diplomatic teams under US and China. India will be with US, Pakistan will be with China. This is also going on nowadays. New challenges, hospitality industries are badly hit, and movie theaters will not get enough people to go inside. Education institutions are also facing challenge. Yeah, I would like to explain one example of a Chinese restaurant in my city. A Chinese lady who moved to America 20 years ago, she was working as a cook for 15 to 20 years. She was a cook in some other Chinese restaurant, and then she had her own dreams to do her own business. She decided to set up a Chinese restaurant, and she decided to go for 3-4 Chinese restaurant shops in the same city, and she was running it successfully. But during the Corona crisis, lockdown, she had to shut down her restaurants, and she did not have any income. And she decided to close down her Chinese restaurant permanently because she did not own those properties and she had to pay very high rent for her leased property. She had leased all the property from landlords, and she was unable to pay commercial rent, which is relatively high compared to residential rent, to the landlords. And landlords decided to terminate the lease contract. And she has no business now, she has no job now, so she is very disappointed. There are a lot of people like that these days, a lot of businessmen, business people, businesswomen, they lost their job. Yeah, so I have a solution. What is my solution today is, I would like to present a framework for rewriting your business plan, which will help your companies to overcome these pandemic challenges. And this business plan and this framework will help you to win and compete and win in the days to come. This business plan is different from the traditional business plan. Probably you might be teaching a business plan with a different framework or with a different structure in your business MBA classes. But I would like to suggest that you think about this business plan and this structure for your new business plan, considering the anticipated and unanticipated problems that will occur in future too. So this framework was proposed and presented by me and Eric Maas, who is now a professor at Indiana University in the US, who used to be with the University of North Texas, and who was also my student for a year. And what we have done is that we have presented this framework. Performance is a function of, we conceptualize performance as a function of potential, path, processes, space, pattern, and problems. Performance is the ultimate goal for any business. In order to achieve performance, any company manager has to look at, all companies need to look at potential. What is the potential for their company in a specific market or in different markets? Path, process and pace, pattern, problems. Yeah. So performance is on the left-hand side and other P's are on the right-hand side. It can be presented in an equation framework. For example, here, we include problems. In traditional business plan, when we were taught traditional business plan in classroom, there were no problems. But nowadays, problems need to be taken into account. And as I said, problem can be expected problem and unexpected problem. If your company is not having enough business because of inherent weakness, it's an expected problem. But problems arising out of external shocks like corona crisis or COVID-19 crisis is an unanticipated problem. So in your business plan, when you plan in advance, you have to look at and you have to comprehensively examine and review all these issues and try to analyze everything comprehensively and expect anticipated and unanticipated problems in your business, and you need solutions for overcoming such problem in case if there are problems like this that might occur in future. Processes and pace, you have to also decide what kind of processes you will follow for collaborations. Business is a function of interdependence. Business is not supposed to be based on independence. Business business will succeed with interdependence. Pace is the speed at which businesses can move ahead. What speed can I have? Can I think about daredevil speed like Ranbaxy did it? Or can I move slowly in my business and achieve success over the years? We have to decide these things. And path is nothing but the growth path and strategy. How do you actually open up the new path with new strategies and dynamic strategies? How do you create dynamic capability for your company? How do you create mass prestige for your company? Can I create a prestigious brand using masstige marketing strategy for an unknown brand? Those kind of things need to be answered in business plan. So especially in order to survive and succeed in the post-pandemic era, we prescribed this business plan. And this was published originally as a towards 7P framework for international marketing. However, in the pandemic context, it is useful not only for international marketing, but also for marketing everywhere and succeeding everywhere. So potential can be analyzed, path can be analyzed with reference to strategy, fund sources, and type of firms. Processes can be analyzed with reference to catch-up strategy, organic versus inorganic processes for growth. Pace is nothing but it is speed. The determinant factors of pace are technology, competition, mediating perception of entrepreneurs, moderating forces of knowledge, network. All these are part of pace. I've also introduced a theoretical model called conservative, predictable, and pacemaker model, CPP model, for companies to follow. Pattern, you have to also decide pattern, what product or services are sold and where it is sold and where it can be sold, what it is sold and what can be sold. Yeah, so I would love to talk more. However, I have time constraint, I believe, and I would be happy to answer any questions relating to this, or I can also answer any questions relating to research. In my role as editor-in-chief of International Journal of Consumer Studies, because my life is these days, I'm spending more time as editor than doing my professor job. So these are my websites and my email. In case if you have any question or any comment, feel free to get in touch with me on my website drjustinpaul.com, and I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/drjustinpaul. I have many videos of my lectures relating to research and teaching on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/drjustinpaul. Please feel free to subscribe that channel, and you get the updates, and you can watch the videos. And I also update my special issues and other things on my facebook.com/drjustinpaul and twitter.com/drjustinpaul. You can follow me there also. Thank you very much. And I'm not sure whether we still have time for questions and answers. If there is time, I can answer a couple of questions. Thank you very much.
Punjab by Mr. Ashish Raina. The sixth and the last best paper award goes to Trade Policy Analysis among One Belt, One Road Nation using Structured Gravity Framework by Hazra Manzoor. So congratulations to all the winners. And we have a dissertation also for the MBA student, and they have also presented their paper. And the top four best students who have presented their dissertation from each of the group. From group one, we have as an MBA student Anupreet Kaur. From group two, we have Kiranjot Kaur. From group three, we have Damanpreet Kaur. And group four, we have Miss Kashish. So congratulations to all the winners. Thank you. Over to you, Gaurav sir.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello. Good evening, everyone. It is truly a feeling of pride and honor for GNA University and GNA Business School to hold this international conference on business resilience and reinvention in the VUCA World 2021. We are truly blessed by the grace of Almighty God for having given us this chance to organize this conference in virtual mode so gracefully. I also would like to thank Honorable Pro Chancellor Sir and Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir for having faith in us and believing in us for having given this opportunity. I am truly thankful to the chief guest of the day, Dr. Niharika Vohra, and the keynote speakers for the day, Dr. Cleopatra from Glasgow, Scotland, Dr. Weng Marcus Lim for Malaysia, Dr. Justin Paul from Puerto Rico for taking out their valuable time and addressing this conference as a keynote speaker. I am also thankful to all the session chairmen for having chaired different technical sessions so gracefully. I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Samir Verma, Dean GNA Business School, and his team for putting in exemplary efforts and making this conference a successful event. I also thank the convener of the conference, Dr. Praveen Singh Kalsi, and co-convener Dr. Manpreet Kaur for leading the conference and concluding it at such a wonderful note. Lastly, I thank all the participants for their wonderful participation and enthusiasm through their intellectual presentation on different research topics. Thank you, one and all.